Demand is falling off a cliff. Yes, we know it's going so horribly everywhere. Well, there are some cracks that are starting to appear, but some places it's still going really well, and in some places it remains perhaps too soon to say for sure. But we've got some new data out of China, and we want to add some perspective to that to determine, is it the end of the world? Well, if I'm going to get all doomy and gloomy, I got to bring on my buddy Randy. Who sometimes can talk me back from the ledge a little bit.
Oh, yeah, this. Okay, so you are going to promote my branding as an optimist. Okay, all right.
Yeah. No, I'm not having you here as the doom. I don't think of you as a doom and gloom guy. If someone does, leave it in the comments below. That would be, I guess, helpful. By the way, I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Ozza. So Randy, what are we doing here? We've got this. Tesla tells Model Y and Cybertruck workers to stay home for a week. What? Now, this is the very definition of high quality journalism. This is Binsider itself. Drink it at your peril.
Yeah, they're almost always like very, they have all this inside information. That's why they call them Business Insider, I guess. They have insider information that almost every time turns out to be untrue. I don't know what's going on.
What I found them to do is not so much make things up as take things out of context. Now, they definitely make things up too. The company has squashed overtime hours. Would you call that a bad thing from a business perspective?
Generally speaking, no. You don't want to pay yes, you don't want to pay overtime hours if you can get away with it. But if your business is that strong, then you make some choices. I was always making choices. So am I going to profit from these overtime hours or not?
If you're doing overtime all the time, you need more staff.
That's right.
Overtime periodically is fine. It probably means your staffing level is appropriate. You don't want to have to do massive layoffs at the end of every cycle. Tesla deliveries dropped 13% year over year during the first quarter. Well, we've been through this extensively. We know at least one of the reasons that happened. If Elon's sentiment was at all-time highs, they still wouldn't have been able to sell cars that they had not yet manufactured.
Hard.
I have it on good authority that the order works that way. It's sequential. You build it and then you sell it. So I don't know. Tesla told Austin workers on its Model Y and Cybertruck lines to stay home for the week of Memorial Day. 3 workers told us. 3? You have 3 sources inside the factory? 3.
Yeah.
Which means they have more because these are just line workers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hourly employees could either take paid time off or come in for cleaning and training, but would not be working on the production line. Why would they tell them? Wouldn't they tell you when you get there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Their schedules had been increasingly inconsistent since February. Now, tell me again, what happened in February?
Something line change. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cracking down on overtime. Tesla spokesman did not respond to a request for comment.
By the way, I would also interject here that I believe that on the Cybertruck itself, I have put forward the idea that we may never learn whether I'm right or wrong, that they were having enough issues with Cybertrucks that they may have slowed down production or even stopped it for a while in order to make sure that they took care of all of these issues that they were having. I mean, the car was designed from the ground up as a completely new concept. And so it isn't shocking that they might run into a few problems. But I just had the impression it was a gut feeling, which is probably better than Business Insider's insider information.
Well, it depends how low in your gut, because I've had that feeling too, and it's not pleasant. There is, when you say it's a new vehicle in all regards, I stop to think, and yes, the frame is not traditional. The skin is not traditional. The glass is new. The steering is new. The voltage architecture is new, meaning it has almost nothing in common with any truck ever made before.
Right. Other than that, they didn't do anything different.
Other than that, what did the Romans ever do for us?
I know.
So then we've got our buddy Joe Techmire, who is our eye in the sky, who says, well, strong day, despite some social media reports otherwise. Interesting test car has been spotted. Megapack number 2 has got more equipment. Caissons for the tunnel boring machine breaks through. Cortex 2.0 site growing rapidly, etc., etc. So what he's seeing is that things are still busy. I will actually pause here because I do want to say that when you'd said that Cybertruck may have slowed intentionally, I would disagree. I've talked to employees who told me that that the production hours had been scaled back. Now that may mean that, yeah, they want to move more slowly, but it's not like orders were going unfilled. You can still get one kind of immediately.
It may have been. So we know for a fact they have not offered a $60,000 vehicle yet.
Yes.
So it may have been some combination of wanting to milk the 70, 80, 90, $100,000 vehicles before offering a $60,000 vehicle, slowing down for that reason, combined with some issues that, they wanted to make sure were 100% solved before they really ramped up. But clearly I've not had an offer. Brian White has not had an offer for, I don't know, a year. Mm-hmm. We had an offer for, a $90,000 or $100,000 vehicle, but nothing since.
Right. And at 70,000, I'm not sure how many you're actually going to sell of that slightly reduced but heavily decontented version. Right. Yeah, it could be that when they're ready to go full steam, then they would have all that again. Okay, so then we've got this report: Tesla sales plunge in both China and Europe, which is, super exciting and definitely believable. What could they possibly be making up here? Had you heard that the sales are down in China, Randy?
Well, I haven't heard that they're down in China, except, in fact, the very latest thing I heard was that they were up just a little bit. But then we got to the first weeks of the new quarter. And of course, that's when they start shipping them elsewhere, not into the public market, then into the market in China. So, yeah, I'm waiting to see what happens in week 3 or 4. Last week, there was no reporting. And so tomorrow, we should hear.
So this is an article by Zero Hedge, famously real bearish on Tesla. So let's see what Plunge means to them. 5.96% year over year.
Negative. Okay.
Worth noting, they weren't retooling the Model Y a year ago. So 5.96, not a huge shift, and down 25.84 from March, which means, yes, let's ignore the delivery wave. Yeah. Then you get a slightly better headline. Model Y sales fall 24% as more go to exports.
Yeah.
So this is saying it straight up, and that it's misleading because it's probably poorly translated, but the 24% is month over month. And that's because it's the beginning of the quarter. You ship them.
Yes.
So these, numbers.
Yeah, I'm anticipating. I'm also been saying all along that I didn't think that we would really know about Europe until the end of May at least. That it was just going to take that long because, again, we're not even sure exactly how they plan the European distribution. I'm guessing that the first quarter they would be shipping to the furthest points of the either exporting or going as far away from Germany as they can. I don't know that, though. I've never seen any writing on that or anybody talking about that, but that would just be a guess. So I don't know, France, Germany, Sweden, etc. They're kind of all right there in the middle.
They're right there.
I would expect them to be last.
I made a video last week discussing the new numbers out of Europe, and then a follow-up a couple days later when we had the numbers from Germany, and the numbers are not good. The numbers are, there's either something drastically wrong with the ramp of production in the new vehicle, or there's a greater degree of brand damage than we understand or might like to acknowledge, or both. But certainly by the end of this quarter, we will have no more room to debate. The answers will be there. There would be no opportunity for excuses at that point. I get comments saying both extremes, that there is no brand damage. If anything, there's brand enhancement, which I find implausible. And I get comments saying Tesla is done. No one will ever buy one again. To which I say, I mean, pay attention.
Not so.
They still pulled a profit last quarter. It was a perfect storm of bad news between political activism, retooling. What else could you have had? The economy not doing great. All those things would have had a negative impact, and yet the company still made a profit.
And free cash flow.
Which is, I mean, they're going to be bankrupt. Yes, at this rate, they'll be bankrupt in infinity, because they're still increasing their positions
and beyond.
But in China, while I am I'm willing to acknowledge that there is potential for brand damage in Europe. What I can't see is any brand damage in China. The possibility, a lot of people say, well, the competition is here in China. And I would argue it is. It's there, all right. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who won't buy a Tesla because they don't make a minivan or they don't make a subcompact. Great. Those are buyers that you might have been able to entice into the brand by having something close enough. Mm-hmm. But when there are options that exist, there you go. And most Chinese manufacturers include some level of ADAS, the driver assist system, and they do so for free.
Yes.
Much as Tesla did with autopilot. And that is how the Chinese competitors are gaining their training data. That's how they're catching up.
Yeah, I think there's at least a slim possibility that the tariff fighting going on between the United States and China might cause some nationalistic Chinese to say, oh, I'm not going to buy American right now, even though it's made in China. I'm not going to buy an American brand right now. I can imagine that could hit. But the good news is, over the weekend, all of that kind of went away. And the tariff thing seems to be well on the way to solution. And the president announced he'll be talking to Xi later this week. So hopefully.
I don't know how much the 90-day pause will help. I know we got down to 0 ships in transit between China and the west coast of the U.S., which is a concern.
It's not many. It's a very low number.
0 is a fairly low number. But what I will tell you is the emotional response to Elon as a bad guy in China, as far as I could see, does not exist.
Yeah.
Their news is very different from ours. It is viewed through a different lens. It is translated differently. It doesn't hit the same way. And if people in China dislike Trump, it is entirely likely that they would view Elon as the good guy in the room trying to make things better.
Yeah.
The 90-day pause still concerns me. Not as much. I'm not as concerned. I will say that I'm concerned with my subscriber count, you guys. When I hit 100,000, I will stop begging. I promise. If you find value in what I'm doing, pretty please and thank you with the cherry on top. Would you, could you? Everybody else, like, subscribe, head over to Randy Kirk's channel, see what he's up to. He's got a lot of great stuff, and I'm on there twice a week, whether I like it or not, which is good, because I don't. And everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one.